Welcome, everybody. Quick, hands around the globe in a big circle. And Ariel, take it away.
Welcome, everyone. As we gather together, I'm going to invite you to stand as you're able to join me. And just give yourself a moment to notice the space you're presently in. Just notice how much space there is above you, to the sides of you, behind you, underneath you. And then take a look into these beautiful Zoom rooms and look into the far distance. Look into the back of someone's space. And then go ahead and look into the back of your own space and just link that up with your own kinesthetic sonar, if you will. And then we're going to move together as a way to join together this morning or this evening or this afternoon or wherever you are in the world. So that as we all breathe in together, we're going to soften our legs and our joints. And as we exhale together, we're all going to send ourselves up and away. So that our aim is to do this in unison, that we breathe in and soften, and as we exhale, we rise up. This time, as we breathe in, we're all going to lean this way. So as we breathe in, we're all going to move together this way. And as we exhale, we're all going to come center. And as we inhale, we're all going to lean that way, inhaling and exhaling, joining together, feeling ourselves unified in unison here. This time, as we inhale, we're going to breathe each other in and back away. We're going to breathe in and back away, and we're going to exhale and all move towards each other, finding each other and moving in unison. One more time, breathing in each other, and breathing out, getting closer to one another in our Zoom rooms. The last thing I'm going to invite you is to let your eyes wander to the side, this side, and then still know everyone's still here in the Zoom room. And let your eyes come back to screen. And let your eyes drift off the other way, knowing where everyone is in our Zoom rooms around the world and coming back to find each other. So that our intention for this meeting is to stay in motion, to stay in flow, to breathe together. And while we might not always be in unison, we are unified around the globe. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Welcome, everybody. May we have the virtual meeting guidelines. And I will go ahead and read these for everyone. Please keep yourself muted. Your camera can be on or off. If you have a formal consensus role, please rename yourself with your role. First, example, timekeeper Bob. The public chat is reserved for official announcements only. Private chat can be used to contact advocates, advocate, formal consensus advocate, language advocate, tech advocate, or the doorkeeper. You can find their roles listed after their names. To speak to the group, raise your hand by clicking on the raise hand button in the lower toolbar. Turn your camera on and unmute yourself when you are called on. When finished, please remute yourself and lower your hand by clicking. Lower hand. Please speak slowly and clearly in simple language and avoid acronyms to make sure the captions work optimally. This improves the translation accuracy. May I have slide 2, please? To ask speakers to slow down, go to the reactions button and click on the slow down arrows. When your request is completed, click slow down to remove the request. You may also raise your virtual hand to make that request if needed. If captions disappear, try turning them off and on again. You can drag captions around so they're not in the way. Click the AI companion button to use Zoom's new virtual assistant. It can help you catch up if you join late or answer questions like, what did the last person say? Since this feature is still new, feel free to explore and see how it works for you. It also supports multiple languages, so you can use it in the language you're most comfortable with. Contact our host, Kelsey, via a private Zoom chat for technical support during the meeting. And may I have the next slide, please? And then we have someone to read the meeting intention. Who is
This is me.
okay?
Can you hear me?
I can, thank you.
Okay. Absichtserklärung für Mitgliederversammlungen. Der Zweck dieses Treffens ist es, die Angelegenheiten von ATI zu betreiben. Wir werden dies, soweit es möglich ist, als lernendes Gespräch ansehen. Wir werden mit Wohlwollen zuhören und uns beteiligen. Wir gehen außerdem davon aus, dass alle anderen ebenfalls aus bestem Wissen und Gewissen heraus handeln. Wir werden unsere Mittel wodurch aufrechterhalten und hören mit Respekt und Elastizität, Resilienz zu, vor allem wenn wir stark emotionalisiert sind.
Thank you, Gabriella. And may I have the next slide, please? Okay. This is our agenda for today. As you can see, we're partway in. We have done our instructions, our greeting, our virtual meeting guidelines, and our meeting intentions. We have now arrived at present and consent to agenda for 5 minutes. Formal consensus roles and advocate information for 6 minutes. Professional Development Committee, PDC, Level 3, resolving concerns for 15 minutes. Elected Lively for 3. Returning to PDC Level 3, resolving concerns for 20 minutes. A screen break. Then PDC Level 3, resolving concerns for 15 minutes. Followed by the Agenda Planning Committee pre-break announcements. Are there any concerns about the part 1 of today's agenda? Okay. Seeing no concerns, let's look at our next slide, please, for part 2. In part 2, we begin again with Professional Development Committee, PDC Level 3, resolving concerns for 15 minutes, followed by announcements for 5, a light and lively for 3, treasurer's report and questions and answers for 20 minutes, agenda planning committee ending announcements for 3, a meeting evaluation for 7, and seeing each other for a minute. Are there any concerns about part 2's agenda? Seeing no concerns, we have consent for the agenda. We have the next slide, please. Here are our roles for the meeting. Sarah and Mare and Danny Loesch are our agenda planners. Our note taker is Diane Faust. Gabriella did our meeting intentions. I am the facilitator for part 1. Kathy Madden. Facilitator part 1 assistant, Diane Sales. Facilitator part 2, Mary Lou Chasey, Danny Loesch. And doorkeeper, Irene Schlump. Public scribe, Rachel Prabhakar. Public scribe 2, and Antoinette Cranenberg and Jennifer Mizenko. Manuela Borgal is our peacekeeper. We have an absence in the advocate position. Is there anyone who would be willing to be the advocate in the room? Looking in my, yes, raise your hand if.
Robin Gilmore's.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Robin Gilmore for advocate. Kelsey is our tech advocate. Maria Weiss is our language advocate. Diana Bradley is our formal consensus advocate. And our Light and Lively and Hellos is Ariel Weiss, Light and Lively 1, Belinda Mello, and Light and Lively 2, Susan Sinclair. And our timekeeper is David. Thank you, everyone. And everyone, just really take in how many people are actually working the meeting. I'm the hub, but I need everybody in there. Okay. Now here we're moving on to the slides about the advocates. If you need assistance during the meeting, we encourage you to contact the following advocates in private chat. They will have their role before their name in the participants list. For example, timekeeper, in this case, David. Our advocate helps a member express thoughts or feelings about something when the member doesn't feel comfortable doing so. Our formal consensus advocate helps members with understanding where we are in the formal consensus process. Our language advocate helps members who need assistance with language and translation. For help with captions, contact our tech advocate, Kelsey, and that tech advocate helps members with technical needs and issues, including captions. Okay, may I have the next slide, please? And we're moving on to Professional Development Committee, Proposal Level 3, Resolving Concerns. We have 15 minutes for this section, and we have reports from working groups to begin the section, so we know since the last meeting when concerns were offered, people have been meeting through the week. You may have seen some of that along the way. And I believe Mary Lou is going to talk now about the policy. The question, there was one of the concerns is you will have seen they got separated out. Some things are about policy rather than the proposal. Some things are general ATI and some are about the proposal. And Mary Lou's going to speak to the question about policies and versus procedures.
Well, I think it's very convenient that right now, all of us are having an opportunity to review the policies and procedures document, that we are reviewing it to look for anything that doesn't look to be a part of the whole of ATI. And I brought my umbrella because this is an umbrella activity. This, outside of the umbrella, is our values. The inside, our bylaws. The structure here, right here, the whole structure holding it together our policies, and this handle the way we get things done, our procedures. They all depend on each other, and the umbrella is over the whole, and the procedures are something that we can change as we need, so that we can hold on, so that we can protect ourselves from the wind here, so that we can move about as an organization. Procedures need flexibility, and we give them that by reviewing what the committees and the board have developed as procedures to support our policies. The policies we're making right now at these AGMs, and that's where all the policies are made by the members at the AGM. We do that with that umbrella of both the values and our bylaws. That's how we make policy. How we make procedures is one step closer to everyday life. And that is to support those policies that are supported by the bylaws and supported by the values. So when you're reviewing and looking at the procedures the committees and boards have developed, keep that in mind. Today, we're just developing policy. The procedures will come, and they'll be flexible so that we can meet today's world, which changes faster than I can believe, and today's technology and today's needs. And then we all get to review them every couple years. These new and adjusted and revised and refined procedures are there for us to review and comment on and ask questions about. That email arrived November 8th. The working group that works on policies and procedures this year gave us until November 22nd. They gave us an extension so that we could look at those and really see what they are. It's an important part of being a member of ATI. Are there any questions about what I've just said? Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mary Lou. And I believe next we go to the Professional Development Committee to report on the work that's been done. Is that true?
And please let me know when and which slide to share.
I'm one person on the Professional Development Committee and was not expecting to make an oral report.
Okay, that's fine. So we'll just move to the slide. So we'll move to, so Tanya raised her hand. Tanya, what do
This
you?
one or
I'm sorry, I tried to contact the formal consensus advocate,
Okay.
but I have a clarifying question about the formal consensus because I did not get a response. If you can still ask clarifying questions during this part of the formal consensus, is that correct?
Yes.
And what happens if during the week that we went away, a concern came up for me? Is it too late to bring it up?
I will be asking for in a while for concerns about the proposed about the proposals, about the resolution to the proposals. So that would be where that would come.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Okay. So as I said, there's been working groups discussing the proposal and the concern since the last meeting. And this is their report, essentially the new new version of the proposal based on the concerns from expressed last week. And do you need something, Jennifer?
Yeah, so for scribes, do we scribe the report or we just
No, not
wait?
yet.
All right, thank you.
Mhm. So candidates, I will read it for you. And now candidates for an, so things are moving.
Who is on the slide? Can someone stop
Because-
highlighting the slide?
Candidates for an ATI teaching certificate demonstrate their knowledge by 1, responding to the prompts for each of the demonstrations of knowledge, Alexander's writings, anatomy, and ethics in either video, audio, or written form. 2, submitting their 3 demonstrations of knowledge for review to a reader who A, is an ATI teaching member with an ATI teaching certificate, and B, has completed the demonstrations of knowledge as described in 1. And 3, submitting the 3 demonstrations of knowledge to their ATI sponsors. So let's all take a moment to look at the report from the interim committees. This is the resolutions offered based on the concerns from the last meeting. And now the public scribes, we will need you now. And as we go to that, reminding you that we can toggle between 2 screens. If you look at the top part of your Zoom bar, so you can toggle between the proposal and the public scribers screen. Are there any unresolved concerns? I see Debbie has her hand raised.
It's not so much an unresolved concern. It's more that I want to be clear that this isn't all the concerns that were presented. This was the resolution for one of the concerns.
Okay. Okay. So I guess I'll put that there. Will come back. So are you, I guess what I need from you, Debbie, I believe the committee believes that they have answered the concerns. So we need to know which concern you don't believe has been
The concerns
answered.
the concerns were categorized, right, into different areas. And so this is one category, is what I'm saying. And I just wanted to be clear that this is the resolution of the concerns of one category.
Right.
But there were other concerns in other categories. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. And I'm clarifying for us. So there were 2 categories that the committee designated as not directly part of the proposal because they were procedural or a larger question for ATI. So that's
not up for discussion in this meeting then?
If you still have a concern that is from one of those categories, you could name it. Mary Lou has it. Okay. So I may let Mary Lou answer this, see what she has for us. Mary Lou? Oh, she's gone. Okay. No, you're back.
Sorry, I took my hand down and didn't unmute. There were a couple concerns about the proposal for the policy. There were other things that were worries about procedures, and there were other items that involved the bigger picture of how is ATI going to handle
Membership, yeah, maybe.
membership issues? Thank you, Kathy. Thank you for the word. So I think that what we're talking about here is the actual demonstration of knowledge policy. Demonstration of knowledge is something that was passed as a policy to be developed by ATI quite some time ago, and others know the exact date. But I think that what we're looking at here is not procedures, not big questions for ATI membership, but really how we are going to do, what policy do we want for doing the demonstration of knowledge? I hope that is clear.
Yeah. Yes, thank you, Mary Lou. So I would call that a clarifying question about the resolution process and the ideas behind the resolution process. And I see Tanya's hand is up.
Yes, I have a clarifying question and a concern from the clarifying question, and I'm not sure where it falls. It might be about the policy or it might be about the membership part. But
Got it.
But the clarifying question is, based on the video that was sent before this, I remember Catherine saying that the candidate may choose not to listen to the readers, what the reader says. And so my question is, if I'm assuming correctly, this step to take it to a reader is to help make sure that the application is complete and clear, and to help the applicant. So my question is, if it's to help the applicant, and the applicant may choose not to take in what the reader is saying, and the sponsor is the one who makes the final decision, why is this mandatory? Why is this step mandatory? That's my clarifying question. And my concern is that it is.
Just a moment, Tanya. Let's take them one at a time. So, clarifying question first. And then we have 43 seconds, folks. So,
the reason that it is mandatory is because we did this for 4 years as a non-mandatory pilot project. 35 people did demonstrations of knowledge. During the last 4 years, 94 people received an ATI teaching certificate. So what, about 2/3, maybe a little less than that, did not do the demonstrations of knowledge? And the policy is to ensure that the candidates have an opportunity to have another set of eyes on their document, video, whatever, to make sure everything is there, as you said, that it's clear, etc.
Got it.
It's a service for the candidate, it's a service for the ATI sponsor. Does that answer your question?
Okay, thank you. We are out of time for this section. I know you have a concern. I'm going to suggest we move it to after the light and lively. Is that okay? Do you have any concern about that, Tanya? Okay, we have a light and lively, which is Belinda for 3 minutes.
My audio. Okay.
Oh, I think.
Okay, so we're going to take off from where Ariel left off, and you can do this standing or sitting, but I'm going to suggest up. And I want you to grab a whole lot of energy from around your screen and bring it into a ball where everyone on the Zoom call can see, and just kind of get it nice and mushed and nice and solid, because this energy ball is going to be a real bouncy force. And we're going to take that energy ball and we're going to bounce it down to the floor, and bounce, it's going to come up and we're going to catch it. We're going to take that energy ball and send it down. It goes up on its own, and we catch it right in the middle of that. We send the energy down, it goes up on its own, and we catch it. We have that energy ball. Let's share that energy ball to whoever is to this side of you. So send that energy ball out and receive it back. Send it out and receive it back. Let's send it to the left, whoever is our partner to the left. Send it out. And as we come back to center to ourselves, we can send it one more time out to the left and back. Great. Now let's gather that energy ball and we're going to send it around to the back. And we're going to send it way out in the space behind us. We're going to send it out there and just feel how it's coming. Come on back and you're going to catch it. And find your feet. Yeah. On that floor. One more time, we're going to gather up that energy. We're going to take it behind us and we're going to send it out to the space behind us and gather it back. And one more time, we're going to take this energy ball and we're going to offer it in to the space we're all sharing. So here we go. We're sending it in forward into that space and receive it back. Good. And just hold it right there in your heart for a moment and let it dissolve. And here we are. Thanks.
Thank you, Belinda. Welcome back. We're moving into PDC level 3, resolving concerns continued. So we'll need the public scribe back up, and Tanya has floor. And so Tanya?
I guess my concern is very broad. My concern is that it's mandatory, that the step is mandatory. I feel like that concern covers, like it's like an umbrella for all the other concerns. But now that Mary Lou explained the different categories, I feel like my concern might be also be part of the whole procedures and membership. So, but that's my concern, that it is mandatory.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Sarah?
My concern is that now there isn't a distinction of the reader, of the person who does the reading being chosen to be a reader. So there is not going to be any way of expecting them to get trained so they're really clear about what a reader does.
Okay,
I hope that was clear.
That's very clear, Sarah. Thank you.
Good.
So distinct, wanting to be clear that readers are chosen and/or something about training. So, yeah, and have been trained. Okay. And Ariel?
My concern dovetails nicely, I think. My concern is that how do applicants know who is an ATI member that has done the process of submitting their demonstration of knowledge? So my concern would be that it would be difficult to know who that would be. So they should be designated, perhaps. Okay.
I'm going to ask a question there and make an offer. That looks to me like a procedural question. And I wonder if it would be useful for us to mark them as that and know they're not about the proposal directly, but know that those concerns about procedure are listed somewhere, and we'll go to the committee involved in developing procedures. Are there any concerns about, I mean, are there any concerns about marking procedural things as procedural and knowing that they have a place to live? Diane.
Hi. I guess I do have, because there were so many things that were procedural concerns. It's just landing on me uncomfortably that we would vote to pass the policy with those not being resolved. So I guess that's my concern. It feels rushed somehow.
Okay, are there any concerns in the meantime about at least marking them as procedural and coming back to that question? Because I think that's one of the things that so does anyone have concerns about at least marking them as procedural right now and then considering later what we do with them? Okay. Are there any additional unresolved concerns? Reminding you can look back at the proposal by toggling on the top of your screen. Teresa Lee.
Sorry, I'm having trouble navigating these hand things. Just to clarify, number 2 are the only 2, shall we say, criteria or qualifications to be designated a reader at this time.
That is what the proposal says. That's clarification. Okay.
I will think about formulating a concern around that. So, all right, thank you.
Okay. Gabby? Gabby, we need sound.
I know, I just had to decide if I want to lower the hand first or unmute first, or do I have to do the 2 before I speak? It took me a second. This is not a concern, and maybe it's not the right moment. I just, as I'm hearing what is happening, I just want to suggest that when we consent to a policy, we also know that there will be procedures to follow. It doesn't mean that there won't be. What I think is at the heart of the conversation right now is to see if we can consent to moving the pilot project from not being a pilot anymore, but being a part of the process of certification to become a teaching member. And then there will be procedures that will follow.
Okay, thank you, Gabby. So I think we have some of that in our concerns already. I would say there's a concern about the policy versus procedure, and I guess that's been true of every proposal, just so we know. That's every policy has had to have procedures developed for it through time that are developed by the members who share our values. So that may be another clarification. Okay, any additional concerns? Sarah.
I apologize for asking for clarification. If I may. In the sentence, submitting there are 3 demonstrations of knowledge for review to a reader who. I'm reading that 2 ways. One is anyone can be a reader because can be invited to read somebody's work if they're a teaching member with a certificate and have done the demonstration of knowledge. That's number one. Number two is ATI has a distinction of readers. And so any ATI member has a ATI teaching certificate can become a reader, distinguished as a reader. And however that procedure happens is later. So which of it is it? Anybody can just say, okay, let's send it to me, I'll read it, or do we have a distinction?
Okay, so does someone from PDC want to clarify? Catherine, thank you.
The reason it says an ATI teaching member with an ATI teaching certificate is because way back in 2000, when we did the criteria, we distinguished between these two categories. In 2004, we decided to separate them so that people would do their demonstration of knowledge before their demonstration of teaching skill. Up until now, the ATI sponsors are required to talk to people about each of those areas of the demonstration of knowledge. And that has been a requirement since 2004. The reason we put in ATI teaching certificate is because anyone who is an ATI teaching member with an ATI teaching certificate will have done the 3 demonstrations of knowledge. They will have done that already. People who are teachers by recognition don't have to do this. So that's why it reads that that's what it's supposed to mean. They have an ATI teaching certificate and has completed the demonstrations of knowledge.
That can I proceed? It still doesn't answer my question.
Okay.
Kathy, what should I do?
Well, so I'm hearing that you would like more criteria for a reader, or you want a reader designation that's clear, which matches your concern earlier that you're
Okay, I can state it as a concern. If I just wanted to see what the spirit of this document is, it's if it's open to interpretation, then I have a concern, which is I think a reader needs to have been educated about how to be a reader. And that may be a procedural thing, but I think it has to be in the document that tells us what the policy is.
Okay. So you want in the document something that says the reader has been trained.
Yeah, I guess so. Or yes.
Okay, so that's
okay. So
thank you. And Debbie?
As we're talking about this, I feel like we're mixing up a little bit what the proposal is and what the procedures are going to be around it. So I wonder why the proposal wouldn't be 1 is responding to the prompts, 2 is submitting them to a designated reader without defining that, and 3 saying it would be submitted to their sponsors, and leaving all of that for if we're mixing up procedure and the proposal. It just seems to me it's if we're going to define some of it, we're not satisfying what needs to be defined, and maybe we shouldn't define it at all.
Okay, so that's really a proposed resolution to some of the concerns is what I'm hearing. I mean, we are resolving concerns. So this particular level sort of often bounces back between various levels as we try and look at things. So we're hearing the concerns about the resolution. We just heard a potential resolution to some of the concerns. And we'll come back and take a look at that in a moment. I've got Danny's hand up.
This is the other Danny. Yeah, I guess I just wanted to try and restate what I think maybe Sarah was asking, because I thought kind of the same thing. The number 2, submitting for review to a reader who did these 2 things. Does that mean a reader is anyone who's done these 2 things? Or does that mean there is a list of readers and all these readers have done these things? But, there are readers, and that's what the readers have done. or you could read it as anyone's a reader as long as they've done these two things. That's what I think the confusion was.
Okay, so that's yeah. So we have multiple confusions around this level. And just noting we have them, and we're all trying to help each other understand the options. And there's David.
Just to take that as a clarifying question, perhaps if it's the capital R on reader that's causing that. Initially, it was a pool of people trained and so on. And then as we discovered that we loosened it up to anyone who satisfies those requirements can be a reader if someone asks them to be a reader. If we remove that distinction between those two groups, the people who have said, I will be a reader for anyone who needs one versus someone, a candidate asked to be their reader who satisfies it. If we simply made that a small r, it might remove that ambiguity. And then at the procedures of how do we put together that group of people who are available to someone who might need readers would still stand exactly as it does.
But then that underlines my concern. So then if we did that, then I understand what you're meaning to state in the policy, and then my concern really does stand. And I did hear Debbie offer a resolution.
Okay. Okay. So I'm hearing, I just want to check and see. So we've got discussion around the reader. Are there any other unresolved concerns not related to this one? Okay. So Catherine?
Can we see the resolution of the concern that Debbie mentioned with 1, 2, and all that stuff taken out?
That's what I was about to do.
Oh, joy.
I was only going to go there if I didn't have anything else. So wanted to make sure. Okay, so let's see.
You mean delete this blue?
Yeah, keep it somewhere close by in case we need it, but let's look at the resolution that.
Cross it out, Danny. Just
yeah. Okay, thank you.
All right, hold on. I just got to move some stuff around on my screen.
Okay, so let's take a look at that.
I believe that also she was inserting the word designated for clarity.
Okay. Okay, so let's take a look at this offer. Responding to the prompts for each of the demonstrations of knowledge, Alexander's writings, anatomy and ethics in either video, audio, or written form. Here's the change. 2, submitting their 3 demonstrations of knowledge for review to a designated reader. And 3, submitting the 3 demonstrations of knowledge to their ATI sponsors. Taking a look at the proposal, I see Belinda's hand.
Just a small thing that David also offered, that we take the capitalization out of the word reader with the addition of designated.
Okay, and Tommy. Thank you, Belinda. So, Tommy. We need some sound, Tommy. There we go. Nope.
Got it?
Yep.
Okay. Further clarification, it would seem to me that a little more clarity under the word designated. It was designated by whom? Designated by a board, a committee, or designated by the applicant themselves? Who does the designation?
Okay. And that one I'm just hearing is a cross between things we could designate it, or that could be procedural. So part of the resolution was to move how that designation comes out of the proposal and into the procedures.
Uh-huh.
Do you have a concern about moving that?
No.
Okay. Okay. Debbie?
Never mind.
Okay. All right, let's everybody take a look again. I see. Was that okay? Now, Debbie, do you have your hand up again, or is
Yeah,
that?
yeah. I'm just floating through my mind this word designated, and if it has too much ambiguity, if we want to say approved, ATI approved readers, that might have more clarity to it. And I don't know where that goes.
So there's an offer to change designated to approved. I see the public scribe's hand up.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know. Yeah, so Jennifer?
I just had a question about Tommy's. I wasn't sure if it was a clarifying question or a concern.
I asked Tom, it was a little of both, and I asked Tommy, I just noted that the resolution was about moving how the designation happens to a procedural thing rather than a policy thing. So that was and that seemed to resolve Tommy's concern. At least he said yes. Okay. But we'll take a look. So we have possible designated to approved. We have 1 minute in this section. We've got plenty of time, folks, so we can come back. Let's hear from, it looks like Sarah.
Yes. I imagine an applicant reading the policy, and then I think we need to be clear who designates, so that they don't think that they're going to designate the reader if they're not. If it's an approved reader or a designated reader by ATI, that needs to somehow be indicated in the policy. Otherwise, you're asking an applicant to dig way deeper into policy procedures. So the policy is clarity.
Okay, thank you. We
That's
are
my
at
concern.
Okay. So I'm hearing the concern that it's to not move it to procedure, but keep it in the policy. We are at time, and this is time for our screen break. When we come back, we've got time for concerns. I do see them, concerns and resolutions. So keep your hands up, and everyone go ahead and take a screen break.
Maybe people could meet. Do people want to meet in the breakout room, PDC, or not?
It's up to
Sure.
PDC.
Why not?
Okay, PDC is headed to a breakout room. If anyone would like to go over there and consider what we've heard so far. We're in our 4 minute and 43 second screen break. Okay, we welcome back from our screen break. We are at time. I'm wondering if a report from the breakout room would be the first thing to go to, and then Tanya? Because
yes, in the breakout room, we had a suggestion for resolving a concern. Can we see the PDC proposal slide? Where's my hand? Go away.
Coming right up.
Thank you. The resolution is in number 2, submitting their 3 demonstrations of knowledge for review to an ATI designated reader. And we felt that obviously procedures have to say how ATI does this. We're not going to send out a questionnaire to 400 people, but that would be left for procedures. And then there would be clearly a list. There would be, in procedures, it would be how do you train, all those kind of things we'd answer. And we'd ask all of you to be on that little working group.
Just quickly, I had my timer going from the break. I might have interrupted David starting his timer.
Yes, you did.
Sorry.
Okay. So are you good? Good now, David. We're I just note we're in a 15-minute section again. Okay, so taking a look to submitting their 3 demonstrations of knowledge for review to an ATI designated / teach reader. And Tanya.
Thank you. I have another clarifying question. I'm trying to figure out, it sort of feels like at the moment, I think the policy or what we're going to consent to at the end is taking shape and making sense. But my question is, what exactly does it mean that whenever something comes up that it's procedure, we're saying we're putting it in the procedure category, we're putting it in the procedure category. So because there are concerns, even if they're in the procedure category, when and how are we going to deal with those concerns?
Okay, since it was my idea, my suggestion, and let's see, the truth is that PDC is here and hears all of them and already has them. So that's why I was suggesting that we make a list of them so that everyone knows that they exist and are going to the people making the procedures. Noting that the people who making the procedures are all ATI members who share our values and have all those tiers of the umbrella that Mary Lou offered. So there is a moment when in this that is trust in the people we both elect as committee chairs and people who volunteer, that they are proceeding on our values, because that's what brings us together as a group. But I did hear the concern about these things matter to people. So I wanted to put a place for them so that we could, I could offer as a resolution at some point a moment for us to put those together and make sure we have all of them. I would have to ask the group for that. That's what I'm thinking. So there's a slight agenda change. So that's my clarification of what I'm thinking about. And Kath,
Yes.
that clarified?
Yeah, well, I would like to have the word approved struck out because it's designated, it's not designated and approved.
Okay.
So, and all of those concerns, Tanya, are in the 2 Basecamp threads for this.
Mm-hmm. So they have a place. Okay. Maria?
I have one concern for number 2, because we have 3 demonstrations of knowledge and now 1 reader. And as far as I know, it can be up to 3 readers who are looking at the demonstration of knowledge, that somehow that can be clearer in the language.
Okay, so got it. Okay. There's the resolution, reader or readers. And Danny.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, if people have procedural concerns, can't they join the committee or join a working group about developing the procedures?
Absolutely.
Like that?
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. Join the group. That is indeed a great idea. So we'll put that in the procedure column when we get, if we do that part. So go ahead and take a look again. Looking at the policy. Candidates for an ATI teaching certificate demonstrate their knowledge by 1, responding to the prompts for each of the demonstrations of knowledge, Alexander's writings, anatomy, and ethics, in either video, audio, or written form. 2, submitting their 3 demonstrations of knowledge for review to an ATI designated reader or readers. 3, submitting the 3 demonstrations of knowledge to their ATI sponsors. Are there any unresolved concerns? Rachel?
I'd just like to suggest a very small language change for clarity. Under 2, I think we could potentially say submitting each of their 3 demonstrations of knowledge for review to an ATI designated reader.
Okay. So submitting each of their adds some clarity. Diane?
Never mind.
Okay. Okay, taking a look again. I'll just read 2. Yep. Submitting each of their 3 demonstrations of knowledge for review to an ATI designated reader or readers. Are there any Catherine?
Well, then I think you could delete or readers, right?
You could, yes, you could. Well, I would have an offer to an ATI to submit their 3 demonstrations of knowledge for review to ATI designated readers. Might be.
That might sound like you have to submit each one to multiple readers.
Right. So that's what I was wondering. I think reader or readers covers all the bases. It's extra, but I wonder if that actually covers all the bases better. It's a lot of words, but people are concerned about the clarity. So
without the each or still with the each? Sorry,
each of
what should
their.
I?
Oh, I see.
Can you read the sentence and I'll write it?
Submitting each of their 3 demonstrations of knowledge for review to ATI designated reader or readers. Yeah, I think that one.
No.
Yeah. Anyway, it's tricky. David, where I
Oh,
lost.
yes. I think grammatically the each makes it singular, so each of them is going to a reader. Whether or not it's the same reader, reader or readers imply, as someone said, implies they might be submitting one of them to more than one reader. So it covers more ground, but it makes it ambiguous. I think this is the simplest as it states now.
Okay. And Tommy?
Yeah. I'm not quite certain where this fits. I understand what you're doing with the designation of approved or reader, readers grammatically and all of that, but there seems to be something missing. I know a sponsor becomes a sponsor based on certain criteria. And you've listed criteria by which a person can become a reader, which is basically having gone through the experience themselves. But not every teacher, even though they've gone through the experience, it seems to me, is that having gone through the experience, I don't know if it would really qualify anyone to actually be a good reader.
So your concern is about what the designation process would the designation process would involve, or
Precisely, because it has to do with, I mean, it seems to be underneath what's being discussed right now.
Okay.
Not quite at the surface.
Right. So the resolution, the resolution the working group offered was to move the designation to a procedure that would be figured out. And this is where, again, my offer possibly is to create an agenda section where we essentially are sending messages to the committee around the designation procedure. But are you saying your concern is you want that procedure in the proposal?
Say that once more. I want what procedure?
Okay. So the procedure for becoming a designated reader,
Mhm.
the offer of resolution was about making that a procedural thing rather than a policy thing.
Mhm.
So your concern would be essentially saying that you want the procedural item to be part of the policy.
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. And so that particular thing would take, we probably would need a bit of a working group for that one
Mhm.
to go the next step.
I agree.
Yeah, so I see Diane's hand is up.
Yes.
We need some sound, Diane.
Yes. So if I recall, in other areas where we've got something that you have to look to the policies and procedures to fully understand, we have referenced that area, and I would suggest that going forward, once the policies are in place, it would be a very good idea, designated readers, and then say, see policy and procedures area X, so that it makes it easier for the student who doesn't really know it all to know where to look.
Okay.
So that's it.
Okay. Let's see, where are we time-wise? Okay. Irene?
So just one thought for what Diane just said. This would only help trainees or ATA teachers who are already ATI members, and not all the other people who cannot go to the members' pages. They cannot look into policies and procedures. But what I actually wanted to say, and this is maybe coming also back to Tommy's, that I would think there are some more procedural things which I would like to see within the policy. And I have a general concern how we right now deal with the separation of procedures and policies within the formal consensus process. And maybe I bring it back to the value discussion to 3 from our vision mission, which is say to embody the principle of the FM Alexander technique in ATI structure and means of operation. And I think one of Alexander's principles is that we analyze the conditions present.
Mm-hmm.
And as we analyze the conditions, we can see that there are a lot of missing procedures which make a huge impact on the committee who is working on it, but also on the on the whole ATI certification process. So I have a global concern here.
So you have a concern about so I would my offer of resolution would be to change the agenda to make sure that we actually collect those procedures. And our time is up. Do I have, I think we have, yeah. Do I have the group's consent to add 5 minutes to this discussion? Any concerns about adding 5 minutes? We've got time in our schedule. Okay. Okay, so I hear that concern. And what Debbie?
Yeah, I wanted to offer a possible resolution. I heard what Irini said about members members having access to the information. You know, we have a section of the website for becoming an ATI teacher and so forth that the general public can see. And I'm wondering also if it might satisfy Tommy that we would have the information available to the public. It wouldn't be hidden on the members only pages. So some asterisk next to ATI designated reader would take them to a public page. So the information would be available.
Okay. And Rachel?
Thank you so much. I think as far as I understand it, both Tommy's concern and Irena's concern are that they would like the policy itself to contain more detailed procedures. And from my point of view, I would just make a plea not to do that, because procedures, as Mary Lou said earlier, need to be able to be flexible and to be able to change as conditions change. And as we see with this process, we're doing it once a year, a process of changing policies. And it can be a little bit cumbersome. We have a situation in which anybody who wants to can be part of the PDC to work on the details of the procedures. And people can get involved. We can try some procedures for a year or two. We can find that we need to revise them. We can have an iterative process where we try something and we fine tune it and we try it and we fine tune it. But that's how we can do things through procedures rather than policies. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Rachel. So what I'm going to offer here, let's take a look at what we have. Let's consider this policy versus procedure and how you feel about how you think about that, how you would want to do it. It's possible. So there's a variety of things possible here. One of my offers was if we consent to the proposal to offer to change a bit of the agenda in the second half, because we do have another 15 minutes for this proposal, to collect procedural wishes, I'm going to call them, that would go along with the proposal to the committee working on it, so that so they would be resolved. A possibility is if you essentially consent to the substance of the proposal, although you want more policy in it, you would have the option to stand aside saying you want those procedural concerns. So we've got various options out there, and I think this is a great time to that our break is coming up so that we can consider that over the break. I would imagine there's a PDC may have a room open over the break as well. So I'm going to say that we can end the current discussion until after the break, when we'll come back and reopen it and see where we are. Any concerns about that? Mary Lou?
If you want to take any more information in, we have up to 5 minutes available.
Okay. Okay, so are there any concern about adding 5 minutes? Okay, Irene.
I have a request because it is always said that the proposal from 2004 is setting the note for what we are doing here right now. And I would like that we look at that once all together. What this proposal actually is saying and is asking us or the PDC. And yeah, if we have time for that, I would really appreciate this, because this is also this is something I think it's interesting for the ATI sponsor side of it.
Okay. I will see over break if we can find that. And we might have to read it rather than have it on a slide.
I posted it on the Basecamp PDC section.
Okay. Okay.
I can look
Thank
for
you.
it real quick.
Okay. Yeah, if you can get it now, we could get that. So we have more information going into break.
Remember what it's called, Irene? Ah, I found it.
I think 2004 proposal.
I was just looking for it. I can't find it on my computer.
Here it is.
Oh, goodness. Thank you, someone.
Okay, I will read it. Proposal numbers. Whoop, I can't read it now. Okay. Okay. Proposal number 7, teacher certification proposal. This proposal was consented to with unresolved concerns listed below. 1, to receive an ATI teaching certificate, a person must 1, be a member in good standing of ATI, and 2, complete the ATI teacher evaluation process. 2, the evaluation process will consist of 1, applying for evaluation, complete the application for ATI teaching membership and/or ATI teaching certificate. 2, completing both parts of the teacher evaluation process. Teacher evaluation process shall consist of 2 parts, a demonstration of knowledge and a demonstration of teaching skills. The demonstration of knowledge will include these 3 areas. 1, information on Alexander's life, some history of the technique and the principles of his technique as described in his books. It's 2B from the ATI criteria. 2, anatomy. 2C from the ATI criteria. And 3, ethics. 2D from the ATI criteria. Knowledge in these areas will be specified in a set of written questions. There will be a set number of questions in each area. These questions will be publicly available. Candidates will be asked some but not all of the questions in each area. Candidates may respond to the questions orally or in writing, in person, or via email or audio tape. Yep. The PDC will be responsible for coordinating the development of these questions. The questions will be presented to the membership for feedback and approval. In order for ATI sponsors to evaluate to ATI standards, we recommend that the sponsorship committee develop a means of training sponsors to ATI standards. Initially, this means training would help develop these standards. Then we've got demonstration of teaching skills. 2A and 3 from ATI criterion. During the demonstration of teaching skills, a prospective teaching member candidate will be evaluated by 3 ATI sponsors. When the teacher candidate has successfully completed this process, the ATI Board of Directors will grant the candidate an ATI teaching certificate as they do now. And as we noted, here are the unresolved concerns. We want sponsors to work cooperatively in assisting a candidate teaching skill, which means we want them to communicate with each other about the teaching skill demonstrations that they observed. The 3 sponsors of a candidate need to develop a way to do this, and a procedure needs to be developed for the situation where one or more of the original sponsors the candidate chooses does not qualify the candidate. So those are the unresolved concerns. So we're out of time. So thank you, Irene, for asking for this information, and we now all have it. We'll be able to come back after break and consider our resolution options from there, and there are many. Catherine has something she wants to say.
The PDC will be meeting in the PDC breakout room. Everyone join us if you can.
Indeed, head on over there during the break. And now we're moving on to the Agenda Planning Committee's pre-break announcements for 2 minutes.
Trying to read and screen share at the same time. Okay. We have a 30-minute break now. Please stay logged into the Zoom meeting. If you'd like a screen break, you can turn off your audio and video. If you'd like to chat, you can join a breakout room by clicking the breakout rooms icon in the bottom Zoom toolbar. If you don't see this icon, click on the 3 dots or click more. Then you should find the breakout rooms icon. Then select the room of your choice, such as the PDC room or small talk rooms to chat in smaller groups. Or you can stay in the main room and chat. When you leave the breakout room, don't leave the meeting. It gives you a choice to leave the room or the meeting. And you can find the recording wherever your tomorrow is in the AGM Basecamp project under Docs and Files, meeting recordings.
Thank you, Danny. Thank you, everyone, for a great first half. See you on the other side. Post back. Welcome, everybody. We are in the second half of our agenda. We have 15 minutes for level 3 resolving concerns. Is PDC back? Do we have?
They just got back in a second now.
They all just got kicked out, so they should be coming back.
All right, coming back. Oh, there you are, David. Continue.
Let's see how much time.
Oops, no. Okay.
Let me know when we're officially starting, and I'll start the timer.
Yeah, what is it doing to me here? Okay. And are we back out of that room? Do I have my?
You're ready. You're good to go.
Okay. Welcome back, everybody. The group was working diligently over the break, and I would just invite them to, and we have 15 minutes for this section, invite them to show us their proposed resolution. And what we see is an addition at the bottom. So I'm just going to read the addition right now. Guidelines for teaching candidates and readers will be developed by the Certification Coordinating Committee with input from other relevant committees. These guidelines will address the following procedural needs, aspects, and areas. And in terms of our process, the offer will be, Rachel has volunteered to look at the thread in Basecamp and pull out the concerns from there about procedures and add in procedures. We'll look at concerns about procedures next here. So we'll collect them so that there will be a list of them that goes with the proposal. That would be what we would do today. And then we'll come back in the meeting tomorrow and look and see if we have covered everything on the procedural needs aspects areas. We're still working on the wording there. So taking a look at that, are there any concerns about the resolution offered? Okay, Rachel?
I'd just like to suggest that we add after the word develop. So guidelines for teaching candidates and readers will be developed. I'd like to suggest that we add language indicating that the guidelines will be updated as needed, just to make it clear that the process is dynamic, not a one and done. So maybe developed and updated as needed.
Okay, thank you. And Renee?
I don't know what the working group did, so they can feel free to disagree. But I would say the CCC, updated as needed by the CCC and the PDC, because I know they talk anyway. And it seems to me that they work well together, and it would be nice to have them both working on it. I know it says with input from other relevant committees, but those seem to be the two biggies.
Okay. So that's another aspect of that. Robin Gilmore. Yeah.
Yes. I guess this is kind of a question / concern. My question is, was any current member of the CCC in the breakout room? Because it would seem that we would need to have buy-in from the CCC to put this task onto them. So that's, I guess, kind of a concern.
Oh, thank you. David?
First, to answer that question, we have been in contact with the CCC in recent past, and they are on board with this.
Okay.
And that leads me to
No. They are not necessarily on board with taking on this work.
Well, this particular part, but well, Mike, let me express my concern. I have a concern with the change that was just made, which I can't see now.
You toggle at the top.
Oh, sorry, I can't get to the top from here. There it is. There. Thank you for whoever did that. The historical roles of the PDC and the CCC are distinct, and there's also a history of confusing them. I know because I've been on both of them at various times. And the PDC's tasks all have to do with developing things, and the CCC's task is they are the certification coordinating committee. They have the administrative task of running things once they're in place. So cooperation is actually wonderful thing, but putting the PDC formally in there, I think is a lack of clarity, is making unclear that it is the CCC's role to be administering what we have consented to. Because I think that's an important distinction to keep making: development versus administering.
Okay, Debbie.
Well, now, David, I'm confused because I was going to suggest that we refer to our branches. We have a teacher competence branch. And then instead of saying relevant committees, we put it with them. But you're probably not going to like that given what you just said.
No, putting it at the branch level could work.
By the teacher competence branch.
Okay.
Pick it
Instead of this
upstairs.
whole thing?
I think you could probably keep in input from other relevant committees. Occasionally Vision Mission gets called on in those situations.
So this should be the teacher competence branch?
Yes.
Mhm. Okay. So we're looking at our timing. We've got good time here. So taking
Can I
a
say
look.
something before you move on? I have my hand up.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yep.
The branches are not a part of the bylaws. They are an organizational structure that we use now, but they're not a forever thing unless they become a part of the bylaws. The committees are. And so I would actually suggest not to put the teacher competence branch, but the relevant committees.
Okay. So I'm going to suggest, so we're looking at this. I mean, again, we're coming back tomorrow. So what I would invite everybody to do is to take a look at this between today and tomorrow. And my offer would be to, at this point, open our discussion to start listing any procedural needs, aspects, areas. So noting that if you said something last week, Rachel will be picking it up off the thread. So we don't necessarily need to say it again today. But we do have time to start collecting these now as information for tomorrow's meeting. So that is my offer. Are there any concerns about my offer? Okay. Again, inviting everyone to really take a look at this before tomorrow when we come back. And invite people to what procedural needs would you like to see addressed in the list that's going with the policy? And Maria.
I like to have the points that were in the point 2 in the proposal. Reader is an ATI teaching member and has completed the demonstration of knowledge to be written in the procedural part.
Okay, thank you, Maria. Someone else? Jennifer.
This might be taken care of, but by what Maria suggested, but more specifically, how do you become a reader, or who is designated a reader?
Thank you, Jennifer. Anyone else? Belinda.
Yes, I would like some information included for the applicants to know how a reader is either assigned or selected.
Okay. Catherine?
I was thinking of starting a Basecamp thread for people to put in their concerns/procedure desires.
Mm-hmm. That's great. So between meetings, you can keep
yes.
You can keep adding in between meetings.
Yes.
I think it's important that we're doing it publicly, because some people had concerns that we weren't really hearing them, but we do care about them. So we want that. So we'll collect as many as we can now, but there will be ample opportunity to talk between meetings. So, Renee.
Could we put all of the public scribes current stuff into that Basecamp thread as well? I want to send it to CCC and see how they react. They're pretty busy this weekend, a lot of theater people, but I can send it.
Okay.
Is that doable?
Yes.
Thank
I
you.
will do that right after this meeting closes. I will open up that thread. And then who's ever scribing can put scribe notes in it.
Mhm.
Maybe
Thank
from
you, Catherine.
last week also.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Any other, let's see, Jennifer?
Yeah, just a helpful note. I put an asterisk next to all of the concerns related to procedure.
Thank you. And David? We need some sound, David.
I clicked it and it clicked twice. Sorry. Two things. I want it to be made very clear in the guidelines, the distinction between the role of the reader as assisting the candidate in their preparation of their document and the role of the sponsor as evaluating the knowledge in the document. And along with that, I want it to be clear in the guidelines that the prompts are written in order to give the opportunity for candidates to express what they know and how they understand it, rather than it being a test of right answers that they do or do not have.
Thank you, David. Yorene?
I would like to include a kind of glossary or something, like to define words like for accuracy. I think this is also coming to what David Wright said.
Thank you, Renee. Any other procedural wishes and wonders, Irene?
There was this concern about the non-discrimination clause, and I do not know how this fits in there, because that would be a task for the EAC to find ways to include that in the ethics scenarios.
Hey, Rachel?
Thank you. I would just like to suggest that if Catherine starts a new Basecamp thread where people can add to these list of procedural needs this afternoon and tomorrow morning, if you could just give me an hour, hour and a half or so to collect the ones that we already have so that we're not repeating them, and then you can hop onto that thread soon, but it would just be more efficient to have the ones already stated gathered first.
So
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Rachel, for that kind offer.
Yeah, and I will open it after this meeting, but don't anyone go there for an hour. Is what I hear Rachel saying.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you very much. That's a great offer. We have one more minute for today, but again, we're coming back tomorrow. So, and we've got all this time in between meetings to respond. Anybody have anything else they would like to add to this list today? Okay. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful discussion and work today. Thank you very much. I am turning facilitation over to Mary Lou.
Hello. We have some announcements at this time. Do we have the announcements slide?
Thank you, Kathy, while we're waiting for the slide.
For the rest of the meeting, we suggest choosing multi-speaker view. Click view in the upper right-hand corner of your Zoom and choose multi-speaker view. Gabby. And yeah, Gabby.
Hi, this is the daily reminder that there is a video of the board, each of us reporting what we've done this year. And there's also a written one. It's in Basecamp under 2024 AGM, Docs and Files, Board Report. You will be so into it. I'm sure you will love it. Take a moment to look at it.
Thank you, Gabby. And Diane? Diane Sales? Unmute Diane.
Sorry. So I'm here to remind everyone about voting. Essentially, voting closes today at 5 o'clock Eastern Time, US time. So you have about 5 hours left to vote. The supplemental ballot did go out on Tuesday, the 12th of November. If you haven't received that, or you can't find it, contact Kelsey or contact me. Excuse me. And you need to be logged on to member pages in order to vote. So you can go to member pages and find the candidate information. And Kelsey, are you there? Is Kelsey here?
Yes.
Kelsey, can you tell them how to vote from logging on?
Yes. So you're going to log in, and then on the website it says member pages. So you'll go to the member pages drop down, and then there is a voting section. So you'll be able to click on that voting tab. And with that voting tab, there are the two ballots. It says original ballot and supplemental ballot. And you should be able to vote by going there directly. I will put that in the chat here in a moment.
Thank you, Kelsey. So again, about a little over 5 hours left to vote. Please vote. The last time I checked with Kelsey, we had about 80 people who had voted on the main ballot and only about 35 people who had voted on the supplemental. So if you've already voted on the original ballot, you must go back and open the supplemental and vote on that. And finally, I'll say we still have 3 open positions. The board, co-chair, not co-chair, I'm sorry, board director number 3 is open. And nominations committee co-chair is open. And we're still in search of a chair/co-chair for membership. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. And Mary Lou has an announcement. Mary Lou of FCPC, Formal Consensus Process Committee, would like to see a show of hands of people who are willing and able to be public scribe tomorrow, Sunday, during our AGM. So please raise your hand. I have my FCPC hat on.
Antoinette has her hand up, her real hand.
And Antoinette has her real hand up.
I do.
Thank you. Does anybody have another real hand up?
Diane, is that you?
I think I'm already public scribing, but just
Yes,
saying
you
I'm
are.
here.
I need a partner for you.
Yes, please.
Anyone else volunteering to be a public scribe tomorrow? I really need.
I had already told Sarah that I would do it.
I did not know that. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you all.
Thanks.
I would like to make a quick announcement from APC if possible.
Yes, Diane, not Diane. Yes, Danny.
Yeah, I realize there's been concern because there's been a lot of posts from Basecamp and it can be hard to follow what's going on there. So I just wanted to make a couple suggestions. One is often when you get the emails from Basecamp, they come kind of out of context and you don't know what's going on. It's often much easier to click respond in Basecamp and then you'll see what the topic is and all the posts. Also, if you're getting too many emails from Basecamp, you can see the message in the message thread about how to reduce notifications. And finally, this procedural concerns thread we're going to pin to the top of the message section. So hopefully that helps a little. Thanks.
Thank you, Danny. Would you bring up our next slide? Susan Sinclair. How about a light and lively?
Okay, let's stand up. Oh, can you make me? All right. Okay, standing up. And we're going to do a simple movement warm up. Feet together, heels together, toes apart. And we're going to take a demi-plie. So demi-plie, arm comes up and arm opens to the side. And another demi-plie, arm comes up your center. Sensing your length, arm comes to the side. Rising up onto your toes, arms come overhead. And and once more, rising up.
There's treasurer's report and then closing stuff.
Open. Turn to the right. And turn to the left. Find your balance on one leg. And other side. And once more, demi-plie. And demi-plie. And rise. And rise. And turn to the left. And turn to the right. And find your balance on one leg. And second side. There we go.
Thanks, Susan. I haven't been to a ballet class for a while. A long while. And next we have a slide, but I can also introduce Bill Conable. He is our board treasurer and he has a report. And Bill and timer, there's 20 minutes for this.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Just a quick reminder about multi-speaker view. It's mixed or speaker view.
Yep. Good. Okay. And there are going to be a couple of screen shares later on. So this is my last treasurer's report. So when I joined the ATI board 4 years ago, one of the major tasks we undertook was trying to cope with volunteer burnout. We did this by one of the ways we did this was by assigning more of the many tasks involved in running our organization to Synergos, our association management company, and to finding efficiencies in those tasks, particularly by automation. ATI's largest expense is the cost of Synergos. People we work there include Lane Vallejo and Rob Riggs, the owners of the company, Cody Blevins and Michelle Rajani of the financial team, and Kelsey Gomez Morrissey, our account manager, with whom most of us interact most often and whom we appreciate so much that it should be said over and over again. Through Synergos, we also have access to a CPA who takes care of our tax filings, an attorney who deals with our legal issues, and a special Chase Bank representative who handles banking details for all of Synergos's clients, vastly simplifying things for the treasurer. I can say to this guy, please help me take care of this, and it just happens instead of my having to drive 3/4 of an hour to my nearest Chase Bank branch and explain to the guy there what's going on. So that's a great help. Since our AMC is costly, about $60,000 a year, It's an obvious target when we're attempting to address our structural budget deficit, which I'm going to talk about more shortly. For that reason, we are offering an abbreviated outline of what Synergos does for us. These functions, if not handled by Synergos, would have to be handled by a dedicated employee, as they were before we moved to the AMC model, taken over by volunteers, or dropped from the things we offer our members. We could invite other AMC companies to offer competing bids, but remembering the amount of work that was involved in switching from our first unsatisfactory AMC to Synergos, it would be hard to justify the additional effort, even if there were a minor financial saving. So I'm about to share a mind map of what Synergos does for us. The list is incomplete, but it gives a general idea of what would have to be done by volunteers or a single employee if we didn't hire an AMC. By having an AMC instead of a single employee, we have the benefit of having financial matters and IT matters handled by specialists. A lot of this has been automated, but it still takes lots of time. ATA takes as much of Kelsey's attention as all her other clients put together, she tells me. So now I'm about to share what Synergos does for us. Wait a minute, let me get this out of the way. Okay, so I'm starting, this is in no particular order. They manage our membership, and I'm not going to read all the things, you can read them yourself. They manage our finances.
Bill, we may need that. Bill, we may need you to read them for the membership.
All right.
For captions.
Okay,
you.
sure. Sorry. They are going back. They manage membership.
Bill,
Yep.
can you slow down a little bit while reading?
You bet. Gladly. Okay,
And
so
do you mind reminding us what AMC stands for? I'm sorry, I don't know.
Association Management Company. So that's a company that helps organizations like us with all the things that I'm about to read from this mind map. Many organizations like ours work with AMCs enough that association management companies, that's a thing. There are lots of them. Okay, so they manage our membership drive, our invoices, letters of reminder, and all the lists of our membership that we need for many different things from time to time. They manage our finances. They collect our dues and fees. They pay our bills. They keep our books. They give me, the treasurer, monthly reports and an annual report. They deal with taxes and other legal paperwork. And they deal with insurance. They manage our software, MemberClicks, which handles membership and the website, our bookkeeping software, Basecamp, Zoom, anything else we would need for a conference and so forth, and our email, including the email groups, so you can write to treasurer at alexandertechniqueinternational.org or board at that same place and get to people by function rather than by name. They manage our website, which has tons of stuff on it, as you know, the workshop calendar, find a teacher, the teacher map, and all the rest of our internal and external communications and lists of policies and all the things that are on the website. They manage that.
They produce and distribute the exchange and the communique. They post things to social media. They manage communication with the membership, translations, country group emails, and all other communications between the membership and the administration. They assist with the planning and running of conferences and annual general meetings. This includes, for the conferences, well, for both, registration, room assignments, invoice and expenses, communication with the venue administrators, and being on site to take care of a host of details. They manage translations of our policy documents. They manage the paperwork for sponsorship. They manage continuing education reporting. And they generally respond to requests from the public, from members, and from volunteers and committees. And this is not even everything they do. But I think you can see what a huge workload that is, and what it would mean if we had to do it all ourselves. So I'm going to stop the share now. Unless anybody, does anybody have any questions about what you see in front of you right now before I stop sharing it? I can't see your face or respond to your hand raised, so somebody else can kind of manage that. Hearing no questions, I stop the share. Okay. As I made clear at the 2023 AGM, ATI has a structural budget deficit that must be addressed. Previously, our income and expenses were approximately balanced year by year. However, the increased fees we are incurring for the services of our association management company create an anticipated yearly deficit of around $22,000. We have saved some money this year on various things, and also we took in somewhat more in dues than we expected. We're still identifying the final figures on the conference in England. This is usual. We don't know how we came out on the conference for a couple months. But at the moment, it looks as though our profit from the conference will be about $2,000. Based on previous years, we had hoped for around $7,000. So that came in short. For accounting reasons, the financial reports we receive from Synergos are always a month behind. I've just received our October statements. Of course, I can't expect the November ones because November isn't over with. And we should receive the end of year totals towards the end of January. At that point, the new treasurer will publish that information on our website. This year, it was delayed because of the change in the organization and personnel at the AMC, that is at Synergos. But they have new personnel and things are going much more smoothly. A working group met early in the year and identified a number of potential approaches to solving our structural deficit. One is cutting spending. And although the board will continue to be careful about undertaking new projects and, saving money where we can, the part of our report that I just shared with you about what Center Ghost provides for us should make it clear that we depend on them for a lot of our operation as an organization. The board has agreed that decreasing that part of our expenses would not serve us well. That means that to solve our deficit, we must increase income. There are 2 or perhaps 3 ways to do that. We can find new revenue streams. This is a long-range project, and the board will be exploring it in the coming months. We can increase our membership, both by attracting new members and by cutting attrition. It seems clear that this will involve providing more and more attractive member benefits, which is another project that the board will be exploring. And 3, we can increase our dues. It is always a challenge to find an amount for this that does not drive current members away, particularly since few of us make a good living only from teaching the Alexander technique. Many years ago, the bylaws set forth a 2 to 3% annual dues increase. But in the event, our dues did not increase for more than 10 years until we raised them slightly more than 10% 2 years ago. After lengthy discussion, the board has decided that dues need to be increased for 2025. Doing this by the proposed amount, which is approximately 10%, will bring us to about the level we would have reached had we been following the annual increase that was originally contemplated at the beginning of ATI. We anticipate that this should eliminate between 1/3 and 1/2 of our structural deficit immediately. I note that our dues are still less than those of our sister organization, AMSAT. We have a long-standing policy of granting discounts to members who request them because of personal exigencies. We also realize, I got your message, David. We also realize that there are some members who would be comfortably able to pay a larger amount to help support our organization. This is what we're suggesting. Here comes the proposed new due structure. There it is. Sorry. Wrong one. Sorry. Here we go again. There it is. Okay. So here's the proposed new due structure. Let's look at this right-hand column. For tier 1, let me say to begin with, the tiers aren't changing. Whatever tier your country was in last year, it will still be in that tier this year. So basic dues for tier 1 will be $220 a year, and then $180 for tier 2 countries and $120 for tier 3 countries, and for general members $121. The early bird, we're going to do another early bird. So before January 1st of next year, you can pay at the level of 200, 164, or 110, which is what it has been this year. And then you see that we need to think up sexy titles for this, but the extra contribution level for regular for non-early bird will be 240 and 260, and so on. Other levels like is meta joint membership, retired members, and so forth will be calculated from this. So that's what we're asking, and that's what we think will help us. We think it's a reasonable request. We warmly solicit you to look in your heart and see if you can spare a little larger than the minimum amount of your dues to help us along. And that's it. I'm running out of time. That's my treasurer's report. And I'd like to say it's been a real treat for me to be a member of this wonderful board for the last 4 years, and I hope you appreciate all they do, because they're just marvelous people, and really working with them has been it's been the best committee I've ever been on in my, oh God, 60 years of being on committees. It really, I really have such respect and affection for all of those people. So I have 43 seconds to take questions, but Mary Lou,
Bill,
can
may I interrupt you?
Yep.
May I interrupt you? I would like to ask the group if we can allow Bill to have an extra 5 minutes for questions and answers. Are there any concerns about adding 5 minutes? I don't believe our meeting will run over. I see no concerns. Bill, you have an extra 5 for Q&A.
Thanks. So now at this point, let me go to gallery view, and I see questions. Debbie?
So, Bill, I don't really have a question. I want to thank you for that very clear report. I certainly understand all of it, having been on the board for some of that time. I received an email this morning from Corinne Cassini, who could not be here, and she asked that I read her 3 little questions on, or have you considered, she calls it. That ATI, and some of this you addressed in your report, but she wanted to make sure that the members heard what she had to say. Number 1, that ATI raising dues will likely only push many away and will not achieve the necessary and desired increase in revenue for ATI. I know that if dues increase, we will lose members in France, for instance. What other options has ATI considered to assure its necessary income? And number 2, I'm wondering, with ATI being a nonprofit structure in the US, has the possibility of ATI getting grants to diversify its income so that it doesn't rely on members' dues for its income been considered or discussed by the board? It could consult about how to do this or hire a grant writer, for instance. Has this been discussed with the board? And number 3, is ATI going to put a lot more into its website and help its members get referrals via our website with the dues raise, or would this just make ends meet? From Corinne, thank you.
I'll answer all 3 of those questions. The third question, yes. The second question, yes. And the first question, whenever you make a decision like this, you have to consider, are we going to drive so many people away that we don't help ourselves? And I can't answer that question. Nobody can answer that question till we get there. However, I will say that $20 a year or less from other countries if you if you kind of consider that uh, alongside what else you spend money on in your life, I don't think that's a very large amount. Um, so that's all I can say myself. And we have, of course, thought of all of those things and will continue to do so, or they will continue to do so. Diane.
Hi, this is a question. I remember when Synergos was going to merge with Madison, we renegotiated the contract and we wound up increasing the amount we were paying. That merger fell apart. And I wasn't clear on, did we then go back to the old structure, or did Synergos then add new people to provide us with what we had expected to get from Matson that increased the fee?
Okay, so the increased the 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 merger with Madison and Synergos and then the demerger did not affect things for us at all, except that things are working a little better with Synergos than they did with Madison. In terms of the actual amount of what we pay them, that had nothing to do with the Madison merger. It was because we were paying Synergos for 8 hours a week of Riley's time, and she was in fact spending upwards of 15 hours a week. So it they whichever it was Synergos that we negotiated the new contract with, actually. And it's obviously they needed to charge us for the services they were providing for us. So that's why that changed, not because of the merger. Diane.
I have a recollection of the board sort of polling all the committees and asking, what do they do for you? What could they do for you, because we're going to be renegotiating? And my impression at that time was that we added things because we felt we were getting more resources from Madison.
No, it had nothing to do with Madison. It really didn't. It was okay. It was negotiated with Synergos. David tells me I'm out of time. Okay. Mary Lou, what are you going to do?
I would like personally to hear the last 4 questions that of the raised hands. So I'm going to ask the group if there are any concerns to extending 5 more minutes, which will make the meeting run late. Are there any concerns to extending our meeting time? Seeing no concerns, Bill, you have 5 more minutes, and I will ask that if any others have questions, that we do that on Basecamp through a message thread. So I am going to terminate raising of hands with Tommy. Thank you.
Diane.
Thanks, Bill.
I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Okay. Manuel.
Excuse me. There's another Diane.
There are two Dianes.
Oh, well, the only one I see is Diane Ovanesian.
Oh, okay. Bill, first of all, thanks for your service. And it was fun working with you too when I was on the board. I don't know if you can answer this question. I noticed in the board reports that we had less teaching members this year. We made up for that with trainees, and maybe this is a membership question, what was the reason for having less teaching members? So that's one question. And then the other one is, so if you're asking members to give more, maybe an incentive for if you give an extra $60 or $100 or whatever you feel comfortable giving, could we use that as a tax deduction on our income taxes in terms of if you're a US citizen?
That's a good idea, and will definitely will account for it, those extra levels, as contributions rather than actual dues amounts. It's a great idea, Diane, and it's easy to do.
Great, thank you.
Manuel.
Thank you, Bill. I'm just going to ask a clarifying question. I have a lot of questions, but I will ask them in the thread later on tonight. Well, tonight for France. My clarifying question is, I saw only one line for ATI general membership. Does that mean that wherever the person is living, if you are a membership, you pay the same due, or do I misunderstand something?
No, you don't misunderstand anything. That is exactly correct, and it's a very low amount. It's actually just $1 or $2 over the tier 3 membership.
Thank
Rachel.
you.
Yes, thank you, Rachel.
I really hear the concern about increased member dues driving away potential members. And I just want to stress that if you do the early bird dues payment and stay with the basic level, the dues will not change over this past year. Thank you.
Thanks, Rachel. Of course, they will eventually. Tommy. Tommy, are you still there?
Okay.
Go.
I don't know why I'm not coming up. Okay, I'm here. I said I agree with you very much that the amount that you've considered or decided to raise the dues to is not that much at all. But for some reason, psychologically, it always affects. We will lose members, and it may just be what happens. But to avoid, I think we should take measures. I think we could take measures not to lose members. One of the things we could do is you could place that notice that described very beautifully and clearly what the company actually does for us, and let it be known in the description of what they do for us. Is almost impossible for a single individual administrative assistant to take care of. That we need this group. That's one thing.
I'll do that for sure.
Yeah. I mean, that you've already got it there. All you got to do is explain more. And the other thing is, I mean, as Americans, we tend to accept the fact that dues are raised from time to time, and Europeans don't, and Asians don't, but Asian people, but I think with the proper, if we can have backups. One would be to, I mean, they asked me when I couldn't attend the last meeting, I was asked by Kelsey, would I like my money back for paying for the annual meeting, or could I give a portion of it or all of it as a donation? Well, the answer was simple, you give it as a donation. But if we could increase the amount of mail to members before we asked them, or while we were asking for more money, let people know that if they do have extra money this year, given, that donations would be accepted. I mean, very appreciated.
Tommy,
Tommy,
and Bill, And
Yeah,
I'm
we're
going
out
to
of time,
make it-
Tommy.
I'm going to bring this to a close.
Okay.
I have offered, and I also took Gabby's hand down. I want to acknowledge that. Thank you, Tommy, and thank you, Gabby. I'm really going to ask that we do this on a message thread on the 2024 AGM. I can start a message thread or Bill can, and we'll do that today. I apologize for cutting you both off, but we need to move on with the agenda.
It's fine. I will take care of that, and I will post that mind map on that thread.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you all for your questions and your report, Bill. Now we have some announcements from APC.
Yeah. Hi. So
Annie,
one
thank
last
you.
chance. Thank you. One last chance to sign up for an announcement of 1 minute or less. You can contact us in the Basecamp message thread about announcements, or let us know right after this meeting, either in the main room or debrief room. The public scribe document is always available in the docs and files section of the AGM Basecamp. The meeting recordings also have a folder in the docs and files of the AGM Basecamp. They're uploaded as soon as possible. Looks like there will be a couple new Basecamp threads, the treasurer's report, follow-up Q&A, and also the list of PDC procedural concerns. Sounds like that will be coming a couple hours after the meeting. Catherine, I don't know if there needs to be a breakout room after this meeting. Do you have a comment on that for PDC?
I think we need to get all the concerns grouped first, and I need a nap.
Okay, so skip that. And there is a meeting directly after the meeting with APC and FCPC. So if you have concerns or concerns about the meeting itself, such as tomorrow's agenda or something, you can find us there.
I have just created a breakout room, which I will be at for 15 minutes only to talk more about the treasurer's report stuff.
Great. And I just
Thank you,
realized
Bill. Thank you, Bill, and thank you, Danny. I'm now going to hand over facilitation of evaluations of this meeting to Danny, and she will be your facilitator. Thank you all.
Yes, thank you. And sorry, I didn't realize my video was off in that last portion. We're now doing meeting evaluations for this meeting. The public scribe document will go up, and I will put myself back in gallery view. Yeah, inviting your evaluations of the meeting. You can raise your virtual hand. Manuel, go ahead.
I can say that that meeting went very smoothly as I didn't have to stop it as a peacekeeper.
Thank you, Manuel. Gabby. Go ahead, Gabby. Where'd you go? You might be muted if you're trying to talk, Gabby.
I said all the wonderful things I wanted to say, but I'll repeat them now. It's kind of taking the hand off and unmuting. I appreciate the care, attention to detail, and deep listening to one another.
Thank you, Gabby. Tanya.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that I really, even though we raised concerns and things like that, I really appreciate all the work that the Professional Development Committee has done.
So I just wanted to say thank you. And I also wanted to say, this meeting, because one of the good things of Alexander Technique International is all the worldwide countries that we have in it. So this meeting is taking place for some people at 5 in the morning and some people at 11 o'clock at night. So I just wanted to say thank you to all the people who are here very, very early in the morning and very, very late at night.
Thank you, Tanya. Who else would like to contribute an evaluation? Catherine.
I would like to say thank you so much to people who were willing to give up their 30-minute break today and yesterday for the bylaws. Yesterday? That was last week. Last week for the bylaws. Thank you for giving that time up because we made so much progress.
Thank you, Catherine. Who else? We have a couple minutes left. Plenty of time. Can be positive or negative. It's all welcome. Irene.
I want to speak out my appreciation for giving space to the so-called procedural concerns.
Thank you.
And that for me, that really enriched the communication about the theme in itself. And it is also making formal consensus at its best.
Thank you, Irene. Robin, go ahead.
Thank you. I want to give appreciation that last week in one of the meeting evaluations, Ariel expressed wanting to start the meeting with a light and lively. And the way it was done, basically, Ariel had us do a light and lively to start the meeting, even though it was called Seeing Each Other. So that was just how taking care of evaluations from prior meetings makes each meeting better and better. Yay, us.
Thank you, Robin. Any last ones in the final seconds? Mary Lou, did you withdraw? And we're at time. All right, perfect timing. Thank you, everybody. And for the last minute or so, we have our Seeing Each Other again. We can extend our arms and have hugs around the world, our arms and our hearts reaching to all the little Zoom boxes all over the world. Such a blessing to be so international. And thank you, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.